For another look at what's happening there, I'm joined by Eric Farnsworth, Vice President at the Council of Americas. What happened here? What does this all mean?
Well, that's what we're all trying to figure out right now. To say it was a shock, I think, was an understatement. Most observers, myself included, had thought that this was going to be a referendum that would pass and probably do so somewhat handily based on polls, based on things that the government itself was saying, based on things that outside observers were saying. So it was a real shock that it didn't. I think partially one answer could be that polls undercounted the opposition. I think that's pretty clear, in fact, but it's unclear why people would not give the real answer when they were asked by pollsters. But this isn't the first time. Truthfully, either in Colombia or across Latin America, polling has been somewhat inexact, as we've seen in various elections. So that's one particular answer I think we have to take a look at. But this is a big surprise and a disappointment to many people.
I mean, just 1 week ago, there was a lot of high hopes, a lot of happiness. Everyone was watching this signing ceremony in Cartagena with all these Latin American leaders. There was just a lot of excitement and happiness. Do you think there were some serious miscalculations by both the FARC and the government? Because it appeared, as you mentioned, that a no vote was a possibility, but no one really thought it would be a serious outcome here.
Well, I think that's exactly right. I mean, there was a huge momentum that was building. Even if you go back to earlier this year here in Washington, President Juan Manuel Santos came to Washington with President Obama, and they had a big celebration at the White House and a big ceremony, which was very appropriate, but perhaps got ahead of the moment a little bit. But people began to look toward the next phase, the phase of implementation in terms of what would it cost and how do you implement the accords without taking the time to say, are these accords actually acceptable to the Colombian people? And I think that's the piece that many people missed. The fact of the matter is, I don't believe people in Colombia voted against peace. I think probably all, or certainly most Colombians want peace. The question is on what terms? And the agreement as negotiated, to many Colombians, it seems, they weren't sold that this was the peace that they themselves wanted to see for Colombia in terms of how it would treat the FARC and the demobilized combatants. So that was the piece that a lot of people overlooked, and here we are with the results today.
We heard Michelle talking about the possibilities of where the government and the FARC can go. Can both sides get back together and either come up with a better deal or renegotiate? I mean, or are they going to have to start at the beginning again?
It's unclear where they go from here. Both the government and the FARC indicated that they thought this was the best deal possible under the circumstances. So it's unclear how you could then go back to the negotiation table and get one or the other side to give any sort of additional concessions or to look at some new areas for agreement that hadn't been previously considered. I mean, these negotiations have been ongoing for over 4 years, and they've been very, very well developed and very intensive by any number of parties. So again, it's unclear where those revisions would be made. Having said that, I do know that the parties in question want to continue with the implementation to the extent possible. In other words, keep the ceasefire in place, keep some of the provisions in place that might have gone forward. The question now is, will that be politically possible after a vote that was just defeated the accords?
This is we have about 30 seconds left. This was a big political gamble.
Huge.
For President Santos.
Huge.
So where does he go from here? I mean, the ceasefire remains in place, but really, could they find themselves in this is just another attempt and another attempt that failed?
Well, I wouldn't be that disappointed about it in that context. In other words, yes, it is a setback, but I don't think anybody thinks that this is now going back to the beginning. I think they have a real foundation for peace. I think they can build on that. And President Santos can't run for re-election, so he has a limited period of time to really concentrate on trying to implement peace to the extent that he can for the remainder of his term. And I think he's going to be very concentrating on doing that.
All right. Eric Farnsworth, as always, we appreciate your insight. Thanks so much.